it all behind you. I said, take down everything that stands in your way. Don't stop believing it'll work out again, my friend. Stand out and be a part of everything good. Wake up, you're gonna be all that you should. Try out all the things you always wanted to be. You'll see, 'cause I know what I know, that you've got it in you, and I see that you are a winner.
10 common myths about atheists. This article was put up on March 16, 2013, and I cannot see the name of an author anywhere to give credit to. I thought it was a really good article and I wanted to read it. So for those adults out there who are just above such things as being read to, I will put the link to the article in the description on this video, and you can click with your little mouse and go to the article and read it yourself. You will probably do a better job of pronouncing some of the words than I will, so there's definitely benefits to doing that. Okay, so without any further ado, I'm going to read the article now. Myth number 1. Atheists believe everything came from nothing. Oh my god, I get this all the time. It's like they take what they believe and they try to put it on atheists, and it's really annoying. Okay, so the article reads, many theists believe there was once nothing, and then there was something, the universe created by their God. And so they ask, but if there is no God, then how can something come from nothing? This question has been asked for thousands of years, but now quantum physics has provided a basis for some atheists, such as Lawrence Krauss, to indeed believe the universe comes from nothing. But Krauss doesn't speak for all atheists, and he speaks of a very different kind of nothing, the kind where virtual particles are created from borrowed energy inside a vacuum. This is not even remotely close to what theists mean by the term nothing. When asked about the universe, most atheists simply stop somewhere along the lines of, the evidence suggests the universe began expanding approximately 13.77 billion years ago. Beyond that, I'm fine with I don't know, I don't need to know. I do not believe the universe came from nothing in the way theists use the word, or in the way Krauss uses the word. I don't think there's enough evidence to reach a conclusion yet, and I'm fine with that. I've never met an atheist who believed everything comes from nothing in the way theists use the word, and in my experience, only a minority subscribe to the theory Krauss puts forward. Theists may believe the universe sprang from nothing, but they then have the burden of proving there was ever nothing, and that something requires any gods at all. Myth number 2. Atheists have no morals. Atheists have no morals. Okay. Humans are social beings, and as such, we have morals. Some theists say atheists have no reason to be moral since we don't believe in a God to instruct or punish us. This claim seems rather disingenuous when one considers that most theists who say this wouldn't become immoral deviants overnight if they suddenly stop believing in a God. Studies have shown our morals are a product of multiple factors. The Milgram experiment shows authority plays a major role. The Stanford prison experiment showed the same, but also displayed the role of social hierarchy. The good or evil puppet test for babies suggests that we are all born with a basic sense of fairness, justice, and unfortunately, bigotry. Human morality is too complex to be explained by religion or lack of it. Millions of atheists across the globe live moral lives every day. Some don't. Neither do some believers. There are atheist charities and atheist criminals. There are religious charities and religious hate groups. I'll also add there are religious criminals, and there's a lot of them in prison. Anyway, religious people and atheists can both behave morally or immorally because of, or wholly independent of, their religious beliefs. One doesn't necessarily lead to the other. Studies have shown the basis of human morality is present even before we're exposed to religion. Myth number 3, atheists have no meaning of life. So sad. Oh, how do we cope every day? Even if humanity survives the next 5 billion years on this planet, the sun will balloon into a red giant, boil, and possibly devour the earth before exploding and blasting out through the cosmos. The universe will continue to expand at an increasing rate, and eventually the force of gravity will be too weak for any new stars or planets to form. The universe will wither and die. Some theists consider this and think without belief in an afterlife, nothing really matters in this life. Believing in an afterlife can influence one's meaning of life, but a meaning of life doesn't require belief in an afterlife. Some theists refer to Nietzsche's nihilism as if Nietzsche, I'm going to spell it because I know I'm saying it wrong, Nietzsche, were the be-all and end-all of existentialist philosophy. But humans generally define our meaning in the moments we enjoy and the goals we set. This was probably best articulated by Albert Camus in the myth of Sisyphus. I'll spell that too, Sispphus. I enjoy every moment I spend with my daughter, and one of my goals is to be a good father. I enjoy art, and one of my goals is to read, hear, and see more of it. I like a large hot cup of coffee while watching the dim glow of morning just before dawn. I love the serenity of canoeing on a sunny day and the soft crunch of fresh snow beneath my feet. I enjoy my friends and my family. Atheism does give life meaning because as an atheist, I understand this is the only one I've got. Myth number 4. There are no atheists in foxholes. Yes, there are. They even have a website. Nonetheless, there persists among some this belief that atheism is generally disingenuous and that everyone cries out to God in times of need. This claim highlights a conflicting epistemology between the theist who is basing beliefs in part on fear and need and those of us who determine beliefs based on facts and evidence. Their assumption also implies that when a theist cries out, "Oh God!" they are literally trying to talk to God. I have several religious family and friends who say, "Oh God," in all sorts of scenarios, but are rarely actually trying to carry on a conversation with the Almighty. Even a theist saying, "Oh God," in a foxhole is most likely not actually expecting divine intervention. The phrase is generally used in the same way as, "Oh shit," which generally doesn't involve any reference to actual shit. Even so, there are millions of people who've encountered life-threatening situations and didn't cry out about God, shit, or anything else. Myth number 5. Atheists just hate God. Yes, about as much as we hate unicorns. Theists tend to make this claim when atheists assert moral opinions about supposed deeds of their deity. How can you have opinions about something you don't believe in? Well, the same way we form opinions about Darth Vader, Willy Wonka, or the Wicked Witch of the West, according to their role within the story. It doesn't matter if the story involves a Sith killing all the Jedi kids or a God killing a nation's firstborn. Just repeating the claim back usually gets the point across. Do Christians hate Allah? Do Muslims hate Jesus? Do Jews hate the flying spaghetti monster? Not believing in a particular religion is not dependent on a negative opinion of that religion's deity or messiah figure. It's simply the result of not being convinced because the burden of proof has not been met. I personally think Buddha and Lao Tzu both had great things to say, but I'm not a Buddhist or a Taoist. Probably said that wrong. Myth number 6. Atheists just don't want to submit to God. Well, one would first need to provide reason to believe that there is anything to submit to. Lacking belief in deities doesn't mean one doesn't want to submit to what they don't believe in. Like number 5, the point can be made rather easily by simply repeating this back to the theist. Does the Christian lack a belief in Allah just because she doesn't want to wear a hijab? Do non-Catholics lack belief in Catholicism simply because they don't want to submit to the Pope? Do Muslims lack belief in that Jesus was the embodiment of God simply because they want to continue justifying child marriage with the actions of their so-called prophet? Myth number 7. Atheists are angry. So angry. Sorry. There once was a time when challenging religion was considered taboo. Some would like to hold on to that standard to save their religion from scrutiny. Those days are over. But that doesn't mean being skeptical of religion means skeptics are angry. Being confrontational does not equate to anger. If someone told you Elvis was spotted buying t-shirts at Kmart, their claim would be analyzed, scrutinized, debunked, and in most cases outright laughed at. I see no reason why it should be any different for religious claims. Myth number 8. Atheists are responsible for the worst atrocities in history. Stalin, Pol Pot, and Mao were all atheists, so atheists must be responsible for the mass executions during said reigns, or so the accusation goes. This statement is usually a retort to blaming Christianity for the Crusades or Islam for terrorism. The fact of the matter is there have been Christians, atheists, Muslims, and many others of different beliefs and non-beliefs who have committed multiple atrocities throughout history. But there have also been some of the kindest deeds in history performed by people of all kinds of belief and non-belief. Stalin, Pol Pot, and Mao did not execute people in the name of atheism, but rather for simply not submitting to them as if they were gods themselves. There is a long list of atheist politicians who never committed atrocities. Claiming atheism would lead to disastrous atrocities like those witnessed in the early Soviet Union is a hasty generalization fallacy which ignores all the good deeds of decent atheist politicians throughout time. Myth number 9. Atheists are guilty of scientism. It must be difficult holding beliefs which cannot be justified with evidence. This leads some theists to conclude atheists are all subscribed to scientism. This term is meant as an insult against skeptics for daring to ask for evidence when confronted with extraordinary claims. Scientism is a philosophy which holds that science is the ultimate truth, and that science is the only way to truth. But preferring science to superstition doesn't mean science is always correct. Scientists are humans and can make mistakes like anyone else. However, the methodology of science does work. That doesn't mean science is the only way to truth. It just means it's an effective method of attaining natural truth. Many atheists are equally skeptical of science and religion. My first assignment in my college statistics class was to find 3 examples of misused data in the media. This same task had been given to each class for over a decade, and no 2 people ever turned in the same 3 examples. I have also studied philosophy, including philosophy of science, and so I understand science can be wrong. I have yet to meet an atheist who believes scientists are infallible. Myth number 10. Atheists are all rational and logical. This is one I hear mostly from other atheists. Some atheists like to consider themselves more rational than theirs and ask why we should call ourselves atheists at all, as opposed to calling ourselves rationalists or some other such term. Yes, it's irrational. But not all atheists are rational. Atheism is simply the lack of belief in deities. There are atheists who believe in homeopathy, probably said that wrong, ancient aliens, 9/11 conspiracy theories, and a host of other completely irrational ideas unsupported by any stretch of logic. Just because someone arrived at the rational non-belief in deities does not mean they are rational about everything else. For example, myself. Now the article is over, so I can now ramble. And I'm not going to ramble very long because it's a long article. But yes, I have odd beliefs. I'm an atheist. I don't believe in deities because there's no evidence to show deities exist. And I don't generally believe in fairies, leprechauns, unicorns, or fire-breathing dragons. I'm not totally... Oh, sorry. I somehow...
Okay,
oh,
I found it.
Shut up! I just activated Siri. Okay. So yeah, I kind of sort of believe in ghosts just because weird stuff that goes bump in the night, but it's based on no evidence at all. It's just weird stuff I've seen, but it's kind of a kind of sort of believe. Again, it's deep down inside I don't really think ghosts or the afterlife exist, but I entertain the thought, and so that, because there's no evidence at all, makes it, that's a completely irrational belief I have, you know. So yeah, atheists are just people like everybody else, and just some atheists are complete, you know, stupid people, but they don't believe in God. It doesn't have anything to do with IQ. The way I see it, I think some people are wired differently than other people. I think some people can believe on hearsay, and because a book says. It can't just be any book, though. It has to be a fancy book with a fancy cover that looks like leather, and it has to have gold print on it, and it has to have the word holy in the title, and the pages need to be gold leaf. In the edges need to be gold leaf. It needs, and the thin paper, so it's very fragile and very, just people need to have a special book to immediately think it's 100% true. Hook, line, and sinker, believe it's 100% true. But some people can believe just because it's in a book that says it's holy and fancy, and because people say. They can believe based on hearsay. And then there's other people who need more than that. They need, okay, well, how do you know? Where's the evidence? How do you know these stories in this book even happened at all? Where's the evidence? How do you know this guy walking around and doing these things even existed? Where's the where's the evidence to show he even existed? Oh, look here. There was a time when Christianity existed, but there was no Jesus walking around? How can that be? How can Christianity actually exist before the Jesus character ever existed? How can that be? There's people who ask questions and want answers, and when they don't get those answers, they are incapable of believing. That's the way they're hardwired. They need to have evidence and proof to show something is true before they believe it. It doesn't take IQ. It doesn't take somebody who's more rational than somebody else. It's just the way they're wired. They need facts and evidence to believe something is true. And if there is no facts and evidence to believe that something is true, they don't believe it's true. And if you're going to say, well, a God exists and a God created everybody, well, then these people that walk around that actually need more than just hearsay in a book to believe something, that's how they were made, by this God. They were made in such a way that they require facts and evidence before they can believe something. And then if this God withholds that from them, what they need to believe, all I can say is this God must want people in hell. He must deliberately make people incapable of believing without facts and evidence, deny them what they need to believe, just so he can for sure be torturing people forever one day. That's what I think. That's pretending for a minute gods exist and pretending that we were created by some God. If we were created by this God, then we were created needing this information that he could give us but doesn't. And to me, that just must be because he wants people in hell. Anyway, I didn't mean to ramble so long. I just don't think, the whole idea that atheists are rational. There's a lot. I was a Christian for most of my life, and I considered myself a pretty rational person. I loved astronomy. I looked up at the stars, and I had a telescope. Actually, my husband did, but I bought it for him because I wanted it. And we got into the Burke Museum and Northwest Paleontology Association. We went digging for fossils, and I had a fascination for science even as a Christian. I considered myself an intelligent person, reasonably rational person. So anyway, that's all. If you've been watching, thanks. Bye.
I am absolutely convinced that the main source of hatred in the world is religion. And I think it should be religion treated with ridicule and hatred and contempt.